Hello, John. How you doing?
Andy, I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm good. It's been too long since I talked to you voice to voice. I think it was maybe season two of The Flash when I last spoke to you.
I
So,
I can't believe because of course we're always, you know, uh, texting out to each other on social media. I can't. Has it been that long? My God, that's 6 years.
yeah, you got to come back to once the world opens up again. You got to come back to San Diego Comic Con and so on, so we can chat and meet up. But yeah, it's been that
Yes.
long, and what a long run it's been. Like you have been through a lot with this Flash character for the last 6 7 years. You've been everywhere. You've been Jay Garrick. You've been your own Barry Allen. You've been Henry, and now you've been on Flash and Stargirl. So before you came over to Stargirl, how much did you know about Jay's history with the Jay, say from the comics? Was it something did you already know about this part while being on Flash, or was this guest by kind of your introduction to this other side of Jay's history?
No, I knew about it. I knew about Jay's origins and that he came out of the gate fighting Nazis, and that he took his father's doughboy helmet and put wings on it, and that's where that comes from. That legacy right out of the gate, right there, was so important to Jay. When I was on the Flash, I changed the line when we were protecting Bart from the Godspeeds. The line was written, "I say we give him hell, Flash," and I asked to change it to, "I say we give him heck, Flash," honoring his golden age sensibilities. And I'm so glad I did, because the Jay that I walked into on Stargirl was exactly that.
Okay, so just for clarification, because I know myself included, and a lot of people have been wondering, the Jay you play on Stargirl, this is the same Jay we've been following for almost 8 years now on the Flash. Like, just it's just on Earth 2, or like what situation? It is the same Jay, I'm assuming.
The episode establishes the Golden Age Flash as a member of Earth Two's JSA. And with this action, I get to be the Flash ambassador who officially brings DC's Stargirl into the post-crisis CW verse.
Okay, so yeah, because that's what I was assuming happened. That sometime after, post crisis in this new history, you live on Earth 2, and then maybe somehow came to Earth Prime. Because when you came back on Flash, a lot of people were like, "Wait, he's been on this Earth this entire time." So this is definitely the same person. We're just seeing him in a different time of his life.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes, as I understand it. More will be revealed, but as I understand it at this date, yes.
Oh well, that's great. I mean, because of when they do these crossovers and they reboot stuff and so on, obviously things can change and so on. So like, what is different now in Jay? Besides with the Jay, say living on this other Earth, like what is new? I'm. Does he have kids in this timeline? Like, what kind of how different is Jay while still having all the Flash history that he has had for the last 7 years?
You mean how different is he on Flash, or how different is the guy that we see on Stargirl?
Yeah, on Stargirl. Yeah, like what's his life like? Because we know so little about Jay's history on Earth too. We know that you were to Jay's say, and then assumingly right now people think in the present that you're dead, but obviously Jay is not, because we've seen him alive. So what can you what is kind of your headcanon for this character right now?
Um, what the most thing that I concentrated on was that Jeff Johns brought Jay into his classic self. You know what I mean? In other words, when I walk into that garage, I'm walking into my seat of authority. I'm carrying my authority, because the society that exists, there is no Justice League. It's the Justice Society, and I'm a founding member and a leading voice and a leading authority of that. So it's like I'm moving in the Stargirl flashback in my own seat of authority, and that made me feel in some ways that I was playing a history to the Flash that I play on the Flash, that I was finding out more about his commitment to ethics and principles, even if it meant short-term pain, that he is totally committed to the idea of the Justice Society. We're talking a lot in today about democracy in America, and that democracy is an ideal and an idea. Well, the Justice Society is an ideal and an idea that Jay is very much committed to. The choice that we have here is short-term pain for long-term gain, or short-term gain for long-term pain. The way the society votes deeply disappoints Jay. I think Jay understands it, because there is no perfect choice, and you don't get to abstain. You must choose. And if it's the lesser of two evils in your mind at that time, then that's what you need to choose. And different members come down. I think Pat expresses it so beautifully in the tone of voice that he uses both times. I think he says the word no 3 or 4 times in the scene. And every time he says it, there's a slightly different color. No. I voted no.
Yeah.
Go get the car. I voted no. I so relate to him in that moment, and I think we see an extreme, a great affection that, and almost protectiveness that Jay, as a founding member and a person who has a lot of authority within the society, feels toward Pat, because he knows that Pat comes from a place of absolute sincerity.
Yeah, of course. Well, speaking on Pat, because something I loved about this episode was that even though they were brief, but we saw this episode really says that Jay and Pat really did have close dynamic. Like, what is your kind of what you think about it in your head when you're writing your own canon of what do you think they were to each other? Do you think Jay was kind of like Pat's best friend? They were kind of he was mentoring him, and so, because he seems very much understanding of Pat's situation, his voice in this whole situation.
Well, I think that Jay is the kind of leader that wouldn't interfere in the thing in the society. It's like interfering in nature. Jay wouldn't interfere in how each member hooks into the society and the roles that they play. But he sees what's happening. He knows that Starman used to be Pat. The guy that's playing Starman was the assistant in an earlier incarnation. He was the one that was told to go do this, go fetch this, go get that. And so it's odd that now he turns around and is treating Pat the way that he was treated in comic book lore. Jay sees all of this happening, and he also appreciates the exquisite sensitivity of Pat. And so he relates to that. When Pat gets called down for calling him Flash in public, he turns to him and purposefully calls him Stripesy. When Pat asks a question and the members ask the question, I think Starman says that, I turn to Pat to give the answer. Jay says more with his actions than he does with his words. Although I have to get a little tough with Wildcat when he's saying that Pat doesn't get a vote. And I say he does.
Amen.
The firmest that we see him be. And that's what we try to differentiate. How does Jay relate to Pat as opposed to how does he relate to Wildcat? How does he relate to Ted? How does he relate to X? How is that Rex? How is that different from the way he relates to Sylvester? And I leave Sylvester to last because I feel like I'm going to be pitching a lateral pass. I assume that Sylvester is going to be on the side of not violating the principles of the JSA for any reason. And so I try to talk, even I may have one line when I call their names. I try to differentiate so that we get a little glimpse of Jay's different relationship. You know, and he has the authority within the JSA when Wildcat says he doesn't get a vote. And I say he does. That's end of discussion. You know, Jay has said he does. And so Jay knows that he's moving within his own seat of authority in this group at that time. And that's a different experience for John, Shipp, me, playing Jay, and was a wonderful color to get to explore that I don't necessarily get to explore now that I'm on the Flash show and there's a faster Flash than I am, you know. So that was very interesting for me.
Yeah, because and that's what I think when people watch this episode tomorrow night, I think there's people are gonna ask for more. They're gonna want to see more of your history with all these members, because as you said, you know, the way you spoke to all of them differently kind of indicates, yeah, you have one dynamic with this person, you have a different one with that. So, and I'm not gonna ask for spoilers necessarily, but like, what are chances that we might see you in season 3 of Stargirl? Because we know it's already been picked up.
Well, I would say that if that were to happen, I would be very open to it. Other than that, I can't. It's not my place to say. That is a question for Jeff. Field all of those questions. I would like to forward all of those questions to Jeff Johns.
Well, I know I'm hoping to see you in season 3 and also, of course, season 8 of The Flash. So, but, you know, because anytime when people find out that you're coming back, whether it's as a J or Earth 95 or so on, social media they always freak out in the best way possible. And you've been part of this legacy now for over 30 years. And, you know, you get to not only give something to the people who followed you through the 90s on your show, but you're getting this whole new generation introduced. You know, they're watching The Flash, or they're watching Stargirl, or they're even people like me revisiting the original TV shows. So what is it that you love so much about this mythology that keeps make you want to come back and explore these characters, whether it is Jay, Henry, Barry, or whoever?
The thing I loved about Barry at the beginning was that he's a regular guy caught in extraordinary circumstances. He's from a cop family where real cops work the streets, but he was CSI before CSI was cool, you know, in 1990. And just a deeply good guy who doesn't want to be a hero particularly, but who assumes the powers because his brother's killed, you know. And, you know, Barry's heart is always in the right place. His head is sometimes trying to catch up, but his heart, he just wants to. He's not a vigilante. He's not, you know, a tough guy, you know, but he wants to try to have a positive impact, you know, in his world. It was a trip then to get to play my own worst enemy on Batman the Brave and the Bold when I voiced Professor Zoom. That was a trip. By the time the 2014 show came around, the CW Flash, there had been some major changes in the origin story. And when I heard how Jeff Johns had blown up the Allen family, how suddenly Henry was wrongfully convicted of killing his wife in front of a 10-year-old Barry, I thought if they were to come to me, that's the role I would want, because that's a role I would want to play. That is a set of given circumstances I would want to play, whether I had ever been associated with the franchise or not. Having been associated with the franchise, it made it a perfect fit for me to go in and play Grant's father during, not Grant, Barry's father during that origin story, because Grant knew John had played the role that he's now stepping into, you know, so we already had a connection, you know. And someone pointed out there are various feelings amongst fans of Stargirl about whether it should be connected to the CW verse or whether it should be its own thing. And some people were for it and some people were against it. And someone who was against it told me that it was such a perfect choice to choose me because I've already connected worlds. I connected the 1990 world, brought it into the CW canon, for me to be the one then to cross over and bring Stargirl and maybe make it easier for the people who were opposed to that happening to accept if I was the one to go over and pull Stargirl into the CW verse. And so it's a great honor. I mean, who else has had an opportunity to look at a franchise from so many different angles? I feel very, it's something I had to come to an acceptance about, right? Because, I've done my Broadway shows. I have my Emmys. I played my drug-addicted cops. I've shown all of me on NYPD Blue. I played good dads. I've played psycho dads. I've had a 41-year career. About 7 of those years have been involved in being connected with the Flashverse. And so whereas sometimes I might in the past have gotten a reaction to someone saying, well, you've been with the Flash for 30 years. Well, it's been over a 30-year period, but not the whole time, and not the same character. Well, I've let go of having, some of that come up, and I have come to a degree of acceptance and appreciation and gratitude that one season, one back-breaking, expensive, bank-busting season of a superhero show 30 years ago had so much resonance that 24 and now 30 years later, it still makes such an impact when they ask me to perform some function in the new version. I'm deeply grateful, and I've come to a deep place of acceptance of being in that position.
Well, I speak for a lot of fans that it's always a pleasure seeing you in any of these roles, on any of these shows, and that, like you said, I don't think many actors can say that they've been able to do the things you've done. And like I said, I can, for example, not imagine I can imagine anyone else as Jay Garrick going forward, but you. So I'm definitely excited to see more, whatever that might be, if it's on Stargirl season 3, Flash season 8, or, I mean, heck, maybe a Justice Society spin-off, as a prequel, who knows? Just putting it out there in the universe.
Wouldn't that be something?
That would be quite something amazing. So, before I let you go, I wanted to just ask, because fans are constantly tweeting, tweeting you, asking, what they want to see, what they're hoping to see. But have you, as someone who's now been playing this character for almost 5-6 years now, is there something that you want to see done with Jay as you go forward in the next few years, wherever that might be?
I would love it, speaking of Stargirl, if there was some way further for me to have an impact on Brett Bassinger's Stargirl, because one of the wonderful things about Stargirl is that the most interesting part of any story is the origin story. And with a teenage lead, you have a rolling origin story. Everything she's learning is new to her, including the fact that there's a legacy going back decades in which some of us have dealt with the very same things she's bumping up against, that we've dealt with similar or the same thing, and that decisions that we have made, rightly or wrongly, can inform her young life. I love that. John, as he gets older, and now that I'm playing Jay Garrick, an older Golden Age version of Flash, going over to Flash, we've set up a beautiful relationship that confuses Jay, quite frankly, in the last 2 episodes of season 7. He doesn't understand why Bart feels this connection to him, because he hasn't lived it yet, right? Bart comes back in time to save Jay. So there's this kid who has this incredible connection to him, Jay doesn't really yet know why, but in some ways, Bart is more connected to Jay than he is to his own dad. And wouldn't that be an interesting color to play, especially given that when I was Henry, Barry had a connection to Joe because Joe raised him from the age of 10 onward. And I'm the doppelganger of Barry's father. So there are just so many avenues to explore. But I hope that, depending on Jordan Fisher's schedule, I hope that, and Eric Wallace and I have discussed it, that we get to see more of the mentor relationship, particularly as they've said we're both impulsive. I had called him impulsive, and that's why. Impulsive, oh, I love that name. Okay, Impulse, I'm going to be known as Impulse. Because Uncle Jay said, and that Jay sees part of himself in Bart. I would love to live out that relationship.
Well, fingers crossed that we get to see it. But John, thank you so much. It's been an honor and pleasure. Hoping to speak to you again in the near future. And I look forward for fans to see this tomorrow night.
Thank you so much, Andy, and I'll see you online.
I will see you online too. Thank you, John.